So yeah, Fatola, our thing is that we build businesses that last. So Fatola is a word that means change in Sesotho. So we're all about changing people's lives for the better. And we do this in three ways. We do it, first of all, by growing the economy, by working directly with businesses, helping people start and grow businesses. And the most important thing is this, that they last, because you probably know that the failure rate in businesses is about 9 out of 10 businesses fail to make it to 10 years. And we're really proud of the fact that 97% of the businesses that exit our programs are still in business 10 years later, which is phenomenal. It's 9 times the national average. And so we're really passionate about that. Also, the second thing that we're really on about is making sure that the jobs are both climate friendly and that we're caring for social well-being, because it's not just about making money, it's about making sure that the environment is protected and that people have healthy livelihoods that are affected by it. And then the third thing is that we're really, really keen to build industry-wide partnerships. We do that in a couple of ways, working with corporates across South Africa on the Supply Development Awards, but also through our Bisley platform that creates a shared environment for the industry. Our big, hairy, audacious goal is changing a billion lives by 2030. And so this really means about creating generational impact. So the kind of youngsters that you're working with that are just starting out in business, imagine that you've created a business that's lasts for 100 years. That's the kind of thing we're looking at. How can you create a business that actually is still in business in 100 years, and your family and your family's family and the family's family's family have all created and benefited for the impact of this. So this is me. Yeah, you gave a nice, this is what I look like. So if you could see me on camera, this is how I look. And as you said, Chris, I'm really passionate about the radical scaling of successful business. Yeah, so just again, sorry, just for the quick plug, but just so that you get an understanding of who we are, we currently run 4 different accelerators across South Africa. So some of the young people that are in the hackathon, as you grow and your business develops, this might be really interesting for you. So please come on board and be part of our network so that you're there if next time something comes up. But essentially, it's the SAB Foundation Tolawana program that is working for businesses that are outside the main centers. I often say butchers, bakers, and candlestick makers. So the businesses that kind of anchor the economy, they're out there all over, literally in every corner of South Africa. There are people either on a Tolawana program or who've graduated from a Tolawana program, and is absolutely the A1 program if you want to get ahead in a business that's making a difference outside the main centers. We're also really passionate about social enterprise because, as we know, in South Africa, there's this huge poverty gap, there's this huge employment gap. And the thing with social enterprise is that it's there to make a difference for those people that very often are outside the mainstream of the economy. And so if you have a social enterprise or you're wanting to build a social enterprise, make contact with us, because that's also something that's a real game changer. The Circular Economy Accelerator, I'm going to speak a little bit more about now because it directly lines up with the hackathon. And then we're just very excited. We've just launched a youth startup accelerator that's going to make waves for 100 people. So yeah, so if these kind of things interest you, please make contact. I'm hoping this is going to work. Please let me know, Chris, if the sound is going here. I just want to give it a little bit of a video on the Circular Economy Accelerator that we're running. Just let me know if the sound plays.
We can hear. I would put it a bit louder though.
So that's our Circular Economy Accelerator, and that's what we're busy working on at the moment. And as I say, I think there's a nice alignment with the hackathon work that you're doing. But if I can just move then from that into some of the stuff I wanted to share with the viewers, I wanted to share with you as either entrepreneurs or aspiring entrepreneurs. And the first thing is really this understanding is, the first thing we need to understand is, am I an entrepreneur? Because the reality is not everybody is. And that we've created this great scorecard called I'm an Entrepreneur, and you can access it. The link is there, or access it through the Fatola website. And what we found here is that in general, entrepreneurs have two key strengths. One of them is resilience, which means that no matter what struggles you face, you will always rise. So it's kind of courage, it's innovation, it's the ability just to make a plan, boromaka plan, as we often say. That's something that's very strong in entrepreneurs. And the second thing that needs to be strong in an entrepreneur is openness to learning. And that is the willingness to come, always with an open mind, whether it's at a workshop. Sorry, that's my cat jumping on the keyboard. If it's just coming to a workshop, coming to learn something, coming to a hackathon, being open to other people's ideas. These are really key things that are valuable in an entrepreneur. But in general, entrepreneurs struggle and they are generally weak, or often weak, in planning and implementation. So it's the hard nuts of actually how do you get a business going? Not just talking about it, but actually making sure that you get the right stuff done. And then the second general weakness is leadership, but often that's something that we learn as we grow. We learn as we grow in business, and we learn leadership skills. Sometimes we're born with very strong leadership skills, but all of us, including myself, even after all these years, have got things that we can learn in leadership. And this is something that we can constantly look to improve. So it's just a good idea. If you're thinking about launching full-time into entrepreneurship, or you're just interested about your own entrepreneurship score, it's a great idea to jump in here and get some self-understanding and some tips as to how you can improve as an entrepreneur. But before that, or maybe after that, the starting point, and I've taken, I don't know how many hundreds of businesses, maybe thousands by now, of entrepreneurs through this journey of starting and succeeding in business. And what we found over the years is that the really important thing is to start with this personal passion and understanding what it is that's in us. Why are we, what do we desire? What are we on earth for? And the more we can understand that, the easier we can align it to a business journey. And so often we would start our programs with what we call a personal transformation workshop that really takes us through this deep dive into who am I? Why am I on earth? What is it that I'm trying to create? And we do that by helping people to go through these kind of 7 areas of life. And to be honest, before I did this, I had no real understanding that there were 7 areas of life. I just thought, there's life. But it's quite interesting to break it down into these different areas. So, and to ask yourself, what's important to me in relation to my family? So is it important to me that I have a family? Is it important to me that I'm close to my family, or that I care for them? Maybe I care for them and I have time for them. Number 2, it would be friends. Are friends important to me? What can I give my friends? What's my relationship with my friends? How can they help me in times of struggle? Friends are really important. And actually often when you're starting a business, your friends may be your first network that you sell to, or your friends may be somebody that you go to for advice. So again, I would look going through this and saying, so what is my goal for friends? What is important for my friendship goal? The third one is finances. And often people think, everybody just starts a business to be rich. But that's not always the case. And sometimes we may say, yes, finances are really important. But finances are one of these things, and unless you focus on them, unless you really do, check your finances, unless you manage them, unless you have systems for them, often finances, even though we say it's important, they drop to the bottom of the list because we don't really attend to it. So setting goals for finances are also really important, when you're starting a business. And then again, am I open to learning and growth? What are my goals for learning and growth for me personally? What are my physical goals? Obviously, we all want to be healthy. We all want to be healthy at every stage of our life. but we have to work at it. So what are we going to do? What are the goals? Do we want to maybe stay fit? Do we want to run a marathon? Do we want to eat healthy? What are our physical goals? Because the sharper you are in your physical body, the better you are able to lead and the better you are able to be successful as a business owner. Spiritual, different people have different relations with spirit. It can be either your religion, or it could just be your connection with your God. But understanding that we are more than just the physical body often is really comforting and can be very inspiring for you if you understand this. And the last thing is, what are you going to do for your work? So what is your purpose? What is your working purpose on earth? And as an entrepreneur, that would be your business. And so looking at these 7 areas and really taking some time to self-reflect on this is a very important starting point when we start in a business. And there's this great little tool, this little target here, and we can share this slide deck with anybody that would like it. But this great little target just allows you to plot, where am I? Where am I if 10 is the goal of where I want to be and 1 is where I don't want to be? It's really nice to go and plot this and say, okay, how balanced is my life and how well am I managing on all of these targets? So if we can speak about understanding ourselves and our personal vision as desire. So if we understand ourselves and we want to make $1 million, or we want to care for our family, or we want to make a difference in our community, we would then say, describe that in the word desire. So what we desire personally in life. So what we desire in life, let's just say, to be simple, is I want to be rich. But you can't just have a desire. You can't just lie in bed and wish or do dream boards on your fridge, or tell people that you want to be famous. The fact is, you actually need to have a plan. You have to have a design in order to get there. And what I like about the hackathon is that you're spending a lot of time designing products, designing businesses, and that's really critical because your design will bring your desire to life. So when we start a business, design is important. That planning, that implementation plan, maybe that business plan, and certainly that go-to-market plan. But there's another component that's critical, and that is demand. And so many business owners get this wrong. So many people start up by looking at what they can do, but they don't stop to look at the market demand. And yet the reality is if there is no demand for your product, you don't have a business. And so one of the things I wanted to say this particularly to the hackathon participants, but anybody starting in your business, and that is that it's good to have a product, but you have to check your demand. Because if there's nobody who's going to buy it, maybe the most amazing thing, or you may think it's the most amazing thing, but if there's nobody that's going to buy it, then you don't have a business. And a typical example of this would be, we all know that people living in poor areas with bad schools need access to good education. You'll know this. And so often people will go out and they say, okay, I'm going to provide education to people maybe living in a poorer area. Yes, they need it, but they can't pay for it. And so if you have something where you're solving for the need, but the people can't pay for it, you don't have a business. So just to say it, you actually you need all 3. And so that really brings us to this model, which is so critical, because this model really speaks to how to uncover what target market you've got, and is it the right one? And so generally the startup point in a business, and we actually should do this continually through a business, even if it's quite a mature business, but each time we come up with a new product. The starting point is often, what's the problem? Sometimes people speak about what's the opportunity, but basically what you're looking at is you're looking around you to say, okay, where's there a problem that I can solve? And the problem might be that people can't get access to hot food at the bus station, just to give you a simple example. In that case, the solution would be, I'm going to provide hot food at the bus station. And then you might think, okay, I've got a really good business idea. People want food. I can provide hot food. And then you decide, okay, and the market is clearly everybody that's going on a bus station that are hungry in the morning and they now want to eat my food. But the thing is, until you've checked the last box, which is, will they buy it? You don't know if you have a market. And you might have created a situation where, yes, there are hungry people at the bus station. Yes, I can provide them hot food that would solve their hunger. Yes, I know that there's a target audience of hungry people going to work, but maybe what you forgot about is that the way that you're selling it, people don't have time to eat. So they're in a rush, and so they might just run past you and not buy from you. Or it could be that the people that you're speaking to have already eaten in the morning and you think they're hungry, but they're not. Or you could be providing food that doesn't meet their tastes, or your price could be too high. And until you've done a proper target market assessment and really work closely with your clients to understand, do they want this product? Are they prepared to buy it? You don't actually have a business. And this is very critical because many entrepreneurs get this bit wrong. So then just quickly, from our perspective, success is a journey, and it's really important to understand this first phase, which I've kind of covered in the do I have a market model. And once we've tested a market, once we've tested it, when we've proven it, again, you guys with the hackathons, these fantastic business ideas, get out there and try it with granny, try it with auntie, try it with your friends, test it and prove it in a small phase first, before you try to move on to the next phase of formalizing the business and writing business plans and all of that. And then in the second phase, you would want to refine and grow. And that's when you really want to do a deep dive into the models, into the skills and equipment, into capital raising, into partnerships, costing and stuff like that. But just going on quickly, I just quickly want to touch on this because there may be people on the call that have got businesses that are a bit more mature. And again, I just want to touch on a few things that many business owners get wrong. And the one thing that small business owners often make a mistake with is they believe that everything is about price. And they spend a lot of time thinking they didn't get the deal because the price was too high. And so they go into price cutting so that they're not even viable. But the reality is that most people, if they're going to buy from you, they will buy if they can believe that you're reliable. So consistency is what they're looking for. And this is especially important if you're somebody that wants to grow your business to become a supplier to corporates, because more and more at a corporate level, they're not looking for you to be able to come up with something that's totally amazing. And they're certainly not looking for you to come up with something that costs nothing. They want to know they can rely on you. And so this model is really important. The equip model is important because you need to have these 4 things right in order to be consistent. One, you need to have the equipment and resources you need to deliver. So for example, if you're going to say I'm a tech provider, you need to have, obviously in your team, you need to have all of the software in order to be able to do that. You need to have the high level skills in order to be able to do that. And you need the money if necessary to do any development. Secondly, you need quality systems. So you need to ensure that your quality is consistent. And so you need methods for that. You also need to have consistency of inputs. And so I'll just give a little example on that. It's all very well, for example, to say I'm going to start a business that is selling baskets, a simple example. But if you don't have consistency of supply of the material to make the baskets, you're not able to be consistent as your provider. So the same thing if you're in a tech business, maybe you want to provide a service to somebody, but if you don't have a continual supply of the people that you need in order to deliver, you're not going to be able to be reliable. And the last thing for consistency is you need to make sure that you're making a profit. So you need to make sure that your margins are sufficient, that you are actually making a profit, and you can continue to provide at the level that's expected. And then, of course, particularly when we're talking about the climate, let's make sure that our businesses are caring for the planet at the same time. And then maybe just two last slides I want to go through. One is this thing of investment readiness. And very often we have entrepreneurs coming to us that believe investment readiness is kind of some sort of dash for cash. I need to write a business plan and people must give me money, or I must just go with a begging bowl to a foundation and they must give me money. The reality is that investment readiness is not a dash for cash. It's about the ability to give a full picture story on the all-round strength of your business or your business idea. And so you need to be really honest about that and look at the strengths and weaknesses, speak about the opportunities and threats. Investment readiness needs to show a bit of a picture about what's coming, what have you done in the past, and to build the confidence in you and your business. And so investment readiness is something that it's important, but it's a storytelling, it's a confidence building as a way for you to get people to believe in you. And so then the last slide I wanted to speak about is this thing of impact as currency. And here what I'm trying to say to you is that if you're in a business that is part of your unique selling point is that you're saving the planet, maybe you have an app, you've created an app that is going to reduce water consumption, or it's going to reduce pollution, or it's going to reduce carbon usage, you need to be able to measure that, and you need to be able to report on it. Because when you're building a business that is working in environmental and social sector, that impact is actually your currency. So it's almost something that you can sell. So if I can say to somebody, I'm able to reduce your carbon usage by 20%, and I can show it and prove it, that actually is a direct value of the business model that you're selling. So if you're building a business that in any way is trying to save the planet or trying to do good in the world, it's absolutely critical that you're able to prove it and have the data to show. And I think that's about it from me, Chris. I'm going to go back up now just to create a holding slide, seeing as my camera's just not working. And I think I'm going to have this one so that you can at least know who you're speaking to. How does that sound?
That's great. Thanks so much, Catherine. Wow, what a brilliant presentation. And I think definitely this 100-year club on CNN of companies that have been in business for 100 years, and I'm sure they all follow these 8 principles. Thank you so much for that. And it would be great if we could share the slide deck with our hackathon participants. So we'll get that from you after this masterclass. So I've got 2 questions here in the chat, and I'll ask the first one. What innovations have you seen that create desire, demand, and design in the climate change space?
Sure, I think that's quite a hard one to answer, to hit all of those 3. If I just want to speak about climate change, what I found is, so in Fatola, we worked in the kind of green space before the focus was specifically on climate, but we've had a couple of projects over the years, first called Just Add Green, and then another one called Groundswell. And what we found is that very often the people that are starting the businesses they're really passionate about the solutions that they're bringing. So whether it is composting food waste, or whether it's providing safe water solutions. Up until recently, it was very difficult to get people to put their hand in their pocket to purchase those items. So a little bit like I said on the market model, it's a great idea. Yes, there's a problem. There's a solution, fantastic solution. Yes, people need it, but they're not prepared to pay for it. But what I'm actually finding now is that there's quite a strong movement amongst the corporate sector as a drive towards sustainability. And we're working at the moment with Tiger Brands on a very interesting sustainability strategy for them. I don't know if you know, but Tiger Brands are the biggest food company in Africa. And so what we're seeing is huge companies like Tiger Brands are absolutely ripe and looking for solutions where they can reduce their carbon footprint. They can really, they actually have set a goal of being net zero by 2050, which is massive. And so there is this increasing appetite from corporates that are really wanting to hit the sustainability targets. And it would be interesting, I don't have the list in front of me, but it would be really quite interesting maybe to speak about some of the innovations that are coming out of the hackathon at a later stage if we get a moment.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, definitely a good moment in history to be in when you are passionate about finding solutions for climate change. So another question in the chat is, what is the biggest reason for ideas failing?
Yeah, so I think it often starts with this thing of market. So ideas are not really aligned to the needs of the market. That's an absolute classic. I've seen it so many times over the years. People come up with ideas, they start businesses, they create product. The product doesn't sell, so they adjust it. It still doesn't sell, so they do more product development, and they end up a business of product developers, but they haven't actually tested with the market. And again, it doesn't matter how great the idea is. If there's no appetite for it and people are not going to buy it, there's not a market and the business won't succeed. I think, yeah, I mean, I think that I can't say that enough. Once a business is going, the classic is that they fall short of capital. Although often this again is often it's a combination of things. So generally when people start businesses, they have this fantasy that all you need is an idea, a business plan, and then bingo, someone will give you a whole stash of cash. But the reality is that very often a business is not ready for that cash. And so I'm much more in favor of starting small, doing things in an incremental way, building businesses that don't need a huge amount of cash, and rather building your business organically. And I've built many businesses like that. I'm a bit of a lean startup specialist. Yeah. And I think that there's a lot of ideas that you can start literally from your living room with a computer, especially these days, and especially on tech. You know, and yeah, often that's a better way to go. Yeah, I'm not. I think that's it, really. I think the other thing, actually, if I could just go, is that often people come up with ideas that are great ideas, but they don't have the skills to do it. And I'll give an example. A couple of years ago, I had somebody approach me with this great idea. They said, no, they wanted to start a watch factory in South Africa. And when I inquired, this person had absolutely no skill whatsoever in watchmaking. So had no understanding, no technical knowledge, no technical background, no experience in it. It was just a bright idea. And the reality is that unless you're hugely well networked and you have experience in business, you won't be able to succeed in a business like that. Because when you're an early stage startup, unless, as I say, you have this huge experience and you have this huge network, you need to be able to do the thing yourself. And so in that case, he didn't have a hope of becoming starting a watch factory because he didn't even know the starting point. So that was just an idea that would never get off the ground.
Yeah. Passion only isn't enough, right? You need to be armed with the knowledge. So another question that's come up on the Facebook chat is, what is your advice for young women who are trying to lead a team that face challenges due to men being seen as leaders historically?
Oh, I'm so glad that you've raised that question, Chris. I'm particularly passionate about fearless leadership for women. And I'll tell a little bit of my story. So I really struggled as a kid. I kind of didn't fit in. I was a bit of a misfit. And because I didn't fit your typical kind of girly profile, I wasn't quiet and submissive. You know, I was bold, I was brassy, and I was bossy. And I had all of these ideas that I just never would keep quiet about. And because of that, it made it quite uncomfortable socially, because I didn't fit in. Where did I fit? And for decades, I felt this was a problem with me. I kind of sat with this thing, there's something wrong with me, that I struggled to make friends. And it was only recently when I was facilitating a personal transformation workshop for 50 entrepreneurs in Johannesburg that I asked the question, how many of you struggle with friends? And I was completely blown away that more than 50% of the class put their hands up, and almost all of them were women. And I started to realize that this is something that women really struggle with. I think leaders generally struggle with it, because if you're growing up as a leader amongst other people, you are by nature different. So unless you're really lucky to go to a school that's full of leaders, the chances are that you do stick out like a sore thumb. But even more so when you're a woman. because now you are a leader, you have these natural abilities, you want to lead, it's what you've been put on earth to do. But if culturally this is not acceptable, if you're expected to be quiet and submissive, and you're expected to, expected to allow a man, or, to speak for you, it becomes very, very difficult. And I used to think that being an entrepreneur was the biggest challenge, one of the biggest challenges that we have in the world. And now I'm really more and more realizing that it's being an entrepreneur as a woman, and even more than that, being a female entrepreneur that comes from a traditional background. And I think it's for this reason that I'm not just passionate about helping people to become fearless as leaders, but really looking to bring together all of the women leaders, because I realize it's not that we're misfits at all, it's that we're that fits elsewhere. And so I think those kind of female leadership groups where we can see and talk and share with other people who have exactly the same challenges as us, that we're speaking leader to leader, we found our new set of people is really important. And it's very, very important for anybody that's growing up as a female entrepreneur.
Wow, yeah. And I mean, just from my perspective, I'm very happy and proud to be able to say that I work for an organization that's really focused on empowering female entrepreneurs through various programs worldwide. So yeah, we're really grateful to female entrepreneurs like you who can show us the way forward. So thanks for that. And I don't see any additional questions in the chat, either here on Zoom or in Facebook. So do you have any sort of parting words of wisdom for our climate change hackathon participants?
Thanks, Chris. I think that what I'd like to say is that I really encourage young people, especially to reach out and try their ideas. The thing with entrepreneurship is that it's not something that you study, it's something that you do. And you can only know that you're going to succeed as a business owner if you try to be a business owner. And so it takes courage and commitment to start. And the starting point is to just jump in. You know, there's that famous saying from Richard Branson, just do it. Entrepreneurship is something absolute where you just do it. And so anybody that's come up with ideas that are going to be good business ideas, or particularly good ideas that could change the game in climate change and climate action, just get it out there and test it. Test it with your friends, test it with your networks. If you're at university, test it amongst your networks. Really get it started in a small way. And then as soon as you've proven your model, you will be surprised how people will gather around you to support you in order to build your business success. And so maybe then the last thing I'd like to say to entrepreneurs, you're amazing. Everybody who's an entrepreneur is destined to make a difference in the world. And I admire you. I look forward to connecting with you at any stage. My personal passion is to help people like you to succeed, so that together we can really make a difference that lasts for generations.